can be hard to get up every day and have these little people rely on you. I know it is hard to feel like sometimes your world is so small. I want to remind you that you are the world. You are the world to these little ones revolve around you. You are their nurture, their home, and their comfort. You're everything to them. And I hope even on your hard days, you know how special you are, especially to your little people. I found this code on net when I was searching for some parenting ideas. And then I thought of taking some advice from an expert. And here I am. Hi, my name is Shivali, and I welcome you to this Spectrum-Autism, the support group. The guest who is with us, who is the expert today, is Parul Kumtha, who is a universal design architect. Her firm, Nature Nurture Architects and Planners, were awarded for their work by United Nations Global Compact Network India in 2018, and they are empaneled with the Government of India under Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. She is one of the founding trustees of the support group called Forum for Autism. Presently, she is working with the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, where she is working with creating accessible urban infrastructure. She is a TEDx speaker where she talked about inclusion, a celebration of diversity. She's a proud mother of Kabir, who is an adult in Spectrum, and he is the young entrepreneur who owns Kabir's Kreation. This was established in 2018, and she's here with us to talk about how she raised Kabir and how did his journey reach where it is today. Both Parul and her husband Anand, they both are working together for the cause, and they both are trained narrative practices counselors. And Parul is with us today to share her journey and how can we as parents pick up certain points for ourselves when we are on this journey of parenting our kids, neurodivergent or neurotypical. So let's hear from Parul. Hi Parul, welcome to Talk to the Expert series of the Spectrum-Autism.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shivali. It's an honor to be here and talk to all of you all. I know you all are very closely associated with various groups of persons, working with children and working with special needs. So that makes it that much more meaningful. And I'm really happy for that. So as Shivali said, I am a parent to a young man. In fact, I realized that not really, young anymore because he's going to turn 30 this year, right? So that makes him a good, proper man, Kabir. And, like Shivali said, we helped him set up his little entrepreneurial business, a little before the lockdown in 2018. And then the whole lockdown came in and things changed a bit in that. So before we go on to the question answer, we'll quickly run you through what Kabir's Kreations is and what it does, and also what lockdown has been like for him, simply because I want to bring across to everybody here that, you don't have to have like very high level of skills or, be extremely intelligent in order to be connected and be a part of society. Because my son has intellectual disability in addition to autism, and after the age of 7, he has been in special schools. Till the age of 7, he was in mainstream school, but after the age of 7, he's been in special schools. And he really doesn't have much academic learning, but I must say he has a complete and wholesome life, quite like all his peers, people his age. So with that, I'll just quickly share the screen and show you a little about what Kabir's Kreations is. So this is about his work, and he works with our architects in the architectural office that I run. You can see us architects over here with the laptops, and you can see Kabir's Kreations and their group over there, right? So in 2018, actually, he started by making marigold torrents, and later on, 3 other people joined him. And here you can see him bringing the raw material for the torrents from the market, flower market in Dadar. Yeah. When they got their first salary at the bottom over here, you can see them celebrating by going to Cafe Arpan, which is also a place run by special needs adults. And at the bottom here, he's celebrating his birthday at the food mall with his colleagues out of his salary. Yeah. And here they are manning a stall of their goods at an international conference on narrative practices. So, it's like doing as much as you can, like persons of their age would. In the lockdown, obviously, Kabir's creations took on another form and he took to painting. And last April, we got his painting printed on mugs, and we've called the range usable art. So that has also become, here you can see his painting and the painting on the mugs. And a lot of people have also asked for his painting reprints. And here you can see his painting hung between a Hussein and an MJ Akbar. These are his mugs, right? And as he paints more, it gets added on to this, right? New range of mugs keeps getting added. Yeah.
Ma'am, these are so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. There are his paintings, and we write the name of it also on the mug. So you have Kabir's creations. This is the range of stuff they do, from inclusion bracelets to spectacle chains, which now also have a clasp for masks, peanut butter in 3 flavors, and also artificial flower torans. In fact, he's just got an order for a marriage which is taking place in the US, and he has to make 90 feet of toran. This is his, range of products and the pricing for it, right? So,
Just wanted to know if Kabir Creation and the work that he's doing, it is available for us to also place orders for the work.
of course, of course.
I have already 2-3 things in my mind which I'm gonna
Yeah,
place
I am
order,
also
so-
excited.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and place the orders. Unfortunately, we've still not got back to getting the other colleagues together because these various variants of the virus keep happening, and all of them travel by public transport. All of them have autism. Some of them have appeared for the 10th standard. Some of them are trying to graduate. Some of them, like Kabir, have very little academic learning, but it's a very nice group. And I must say that their capacities and abilities are not really connected to their academic learning. Like, for example, the young lady with us who who has appeared for her NIOS and not cleared it, yeah, despite 2 or 3 attempts, is actually very good at accounting. So, like when they were running their stall, she was the one, and she uses her fingers very openly, but she's like precise with her calculations. And, she also remembers the prices of everything. And she was quite good. She's also a good seller. Like when people came to the stall, she would give them the whole spiel, like, you should try this, you should do this, all of that. But the one who is appearing for second year BA is not so good for calculations, but he's very good with writing out the receipts.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to ask and understand from you, how did your journey start? I know Kabir is now 30-year-old.
Yes.
So how did your journey start, and how did you take up this challenge so positively?
Yeah. So how did my journey start? So when my son was very young, there was one thing we noticed about him, that he seemed to know a lot of songs, but he was not using words otherwise outside of song. So like when I remember when he was around 2.5, 3, he used to sing that song, it was popular then, Amma Dekh, Tera Munda Bigda Jaye. That was one of his favorites. He always likes these really hatke songs because they have a good beat, I in fact remember him singing that song from Satya a lot, and my mother-in-law getting very upset. The one Goli Maar Bheje Me. Right? And my mother-in-law used to say, why do you show him all these songs? Look at all the words he's using. Right? But these songs are very catchy tunes, and that's why he likes them. So he used to sing that. Of course, he used to say, Mama, dekh, ye tera munda bigda jaye, because he calls me Mama. But he didn't really call me, we knew he knew the word and we knew he could say it, but then for whatever reason, he was not really using it in conversation. And that's when we approached a doctor. And I will still remember when the doctor asked me about how would your son, if he was thirsty, what would he do? Right? And I said, you know what? He's a very independent kid. He'll just go and pour himself a glass of water. This is like a 2-year-old, not even 3 yet. And so the doctor said, what if the water is on the table? So I said, he's a tall kid. So, he can reach very easily. So he'll help himself. And the doctor said, what if the bottle is on top of the cupboard? And I said, he'll fill a glass. He'll just open the tap and he'll fill a glass and drink it, right? And then the doctor said, what if there's no water in your house at all? Not in the taps, nowhere. And there's just one bottle of water and it's on top of the highest cupboard. And as I was answering, I understood what autism was, right? Because I said he will get the tallest stool, he'll climb on top of it. When he realizes he can't reach, he will go and get pillows. He'll put pillows on the stool. And he'll keep doing that until he reaches the water. And then the doctor said, but he won't ask you. Right? And so for me, somehow my journey began in a double way. I realized what the challenges were, but I also realized that he's a very independent and problem-solving kid. So it was not just looking at the deficits that come with autism, but I somehow also saw the strength alongside it. Perhaps it was the way it was brought out by the doctor, right? So, and then I also had very good therapists. So I have been on a very good journey in that sense, because for me, autism is not about only the deficits or the challenges. Certainly not about the deficits, but not even just about the challenges, right? So it is all about also the strengths that it brings with.
Right. So that was a beautiful journey that you mentioned here, shared with us. Parul, there is one thing which is about the Adult Center for Adult Support Center. So tell us about that, and what are you doing in that particular support center?
So, like you said earlier, Shivaji, when we were all younger, some of us parents got together when our kids were, 2 to 5 years old. Many of us got together and we set up Forum for Autism. In fact, one of our main founding members is Beena Moda. It was her idea to set it up. She's also a parent. And then, many of us rallied around that and we formed a group, and then some years down the line registered and all of that. And the interesting thing about Forum for Autism is, as our children grew and we saw the need for many other things to happen, we just kind of went on to do these things. We have parents amongst us who set up vocational centers. We have parents amongst us who set up schools. There are various things. They are not under the umbrella of Forum for Autism, but they are set up by Forum for Autism for group members, right? Different entities. Now, when my son and many of his peers reached adulthood, there was one thing that really stood out for both me and Anand, that after schooling, there is very little available for adults with IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities. During the school years, a lot of support, therapies, etc. are available. And somehow, once they become adults, once they're in their 20s, that dries up. And then typically, if there is any issue that the family or the person faces, one gets sent to a psychiatrist. And then that journey goes on to becoming a journey of medication, right? And very often that is not required. So in the meantime, both Anand and I, and some of our other friends, we trained ourselves in narrative practices, which is a style of practicing mental health wellness. And then through that, we set up the Adult Support Kendra, to basically reach out to families of adults and to reach out to the adults themselves. Right? In fact, just yesterday, one of the adults who's a brilliant person and a poet and, all sorts of things, got married, has had a love marriage, like a regular love marriage, has been in a relationship for 2 years, 8 months. And, and then got married yesterday. And last evening, Kabir, Anand and I went to the marriage, and it was such a lovely thing, to be there. And this is a person who has no intellectual disability whatsoever, right? But this person had come to us in Adult Support Kendra for various things that he was
That
going
must
through.
have given you a wonderful feeling to make the person
Yeah.
reach where he or she is there. Right?
Yes, certainly. Absolutely. And by the way, we call it Adult Support Kendra because we wanted the acronym ASK. Because our catchline is all you need to do is ask. Okay, for adults. And yeah, and now Adult Support Kendra also runs a lot of hangouts, online hangouts. Yesterday, in fact, in the evening, I couldn't attend it because we were at the marriage. But one of the hangouts themselves put up a program for as a Shraddhanjali to Lata Mangeshkar and Bappi Lahiri because they're quite into music. So they did the whole planning and everything, and we just had one of our counselors assist them in that, kind of be there, to help them. And then they made the poster. They, did the comparing. They did all that, and then invited their friends and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I wanted to know how Kabir's journey started as a business person. How
Ah.
he got the thinking that I can be a business person. I can
Yeah.
take up these things like my creations as a business.
Yeah. So actually, he didn't get the idea of the business. He only got the idea. He was going to a workshop, and he still goes to that workshop. It's a sheltered workshop, again set up by parents, the Anchorage Sheltered Workshop, and they do packaging and assembly work. And he was going there from the age of 18. And frankly, for us as parents, we always had this thing that he's a special person. He'll go to special schools, then he'll go to a special workshop, then he'll go to a residential setup. That's what we believe, right? Of persons who have high dependency. So he went to this workshop from the time he was 18. He was there for 8 years. And at the end of 8 years, in the eighth year, he made it very clear that he doesn't want to be spending his whole day there. Like in the afternoons, he used to go around switching off lights and the ACs, and which is most unlike him. And the director and all started complaining to us and saying he doesn't let us work also, and he doesn't want to work. And, he just go around shutting the whole place down. So when Anand and I thought of it, Anamika, we find when we were his age, we would have been miserable, stuck to one job for 8 years. We were trying so many things with our lives. So we said, okay, firstly, we acknowledged that he doesn't want to be there full day, but he wanted to be there half day, mind you, because he liked to go there and interact with his colleagues and all, right? So after lunch, he started coming home. Then one of the teaching assistants in that workshop wanted a marigold torrent for some festival of hers. And she asked, and Kabir used to make them with me, for Dashra, for Diwali and all of that. So she knew because on our Facebook page, we shared that. So she said, can he make one for me and I'll pay him? Right? And we said, of course, no, you don't have to pay and all. And she said, insisted. And then she made another order a month later. And then people got an idea of it and people started ordering. So initially, he only made fresh flower torrents, which he loves making and hard. Yeah. So what we realized about it was that the making of it he loves. But more than the making of it, he liked to go and deliver it to the people. Okay, and he loved that connect. And the thing is, torrents are connected to festivity. So he would go to the person's home when there was some happy occasion happening, right? And then he would be a part of that. And then he's a very tall guy. So he comes with a torrent, he's expected to put it up. so he would put it up. So he became a part of the process of that family. And we saw it was a wonderful social connect. And he was not interested in the money, by the way. Yeah. Okay, you give me the money. Yeah, he'd just give it to his dad. But he was very interested in getting a cup of tea. Okay. So, but that, and that's how so that's why it's called by his name, because that time he was just him, Kabir's Kreations. Then what happened was through Adult Support Kendra, we came across other adults like him who were also looking for something to do. So we thought, why don't we set it up like a proper business? And we spoke to them, explained to their parents also. And actually, we parents gave some seed money, just 1,000 rupees each. Yeah, we pooled some money. Explained to them that, listen, we have given you this money to start your business. This is the amount you have. This is the cost of your raw material. So you have to make up the difference before you make any profit. Right? Explained it for as much as they could understand. We didn't know how much they were understanding, but we were really surprised at the amount they did. Yeah. So what happened was, we started in March 2019. By June 2019, they had made enough profit. Okay. Then we explained the next step to them also and said, see, you have profit. Now you can take it. Next month, you may not have profit. So do you want to just take your profit to this month? That's also fine. It's your business. Or you can pay yourself a salary from it. So they prefer to pay themselves a salary. And then we got them into that. And then that's what, so the first salary, they went to Cafe Arpad, which is also run by special adults. And you won't believe it, Anamika, how many questions they had for those adults. Oh, you all have Sunday working. Okay, then which is your off day? What are your timings? Do you do everything? Do you also wash the vessels? Okay, how much do you get paid? We didn't know that they had all these questions in their head, but they had all of those for their colleagues, who they saw were like them, and they wanted to know. And then they said, because those guys got many more thousands than our people. But our people were working for 2 days of the week at that time, right? And so that was 4 hours. So then we did the math when they came back. They said, they're getting paid more than us. They said, okay, they're working so many hours every day for so many days. So how much per hour? And you're working, so, So basically it went like at their pace, like a business should. And like I said, they work with us in our architecture space. Nobody instructs them. There's no teacher. They sit and do their work. We sit and do our work. They have their schedules. We have our schedule. We have on the notice board, we have our projects written out. They have their orders written out. Right? And they're just working in parallel.
Ma'am, how they decide like which pictures they'll have to print in cups and what they are need to like go for public things and what to keep for themselves? How they differentiate all these things?
So we suggested, and then we leave the decision to them. So it is like the support you require. It's like, I have specs, right? So I need this support.
Okay.
Right. Without this support, I can't function. But with this support, I'm fine. No, I can make decisions. I can read, I can make decisions. So similarly with them, whatever support they need, we just make it. And sometimes they don't follow it, and that's fine. So like one of the things they did was go around our area to all the chemists, and plastic bags were banned, right? So basically we got this idea, whatever they do, it should have social connect. It is not about earning, it's about social connect. It's not about being occupied. It's about doing something meaningful for society and feeling your place, in society. So they went around and asked the chemist, we'll make newspaper bags for you. Most of the chemists said no. One chemist said, okay. And for a huge number of bags, he was giving some 10 rupees or something. I can't even remember the number now. But they were very happy. They got their order. Then they would make the bags, they would count them, they would go and they'd take those 10 rupees and come back. Okay. Or there's a vegetable vendor who I buy my vegetables from, and I know that if I buy like a bunch of methi from him or a kilo of peas, he will shell it and give it to me free, clean it and give it to me free by the afternoon. So we said, when your customers buy it, our person will come to your cart, take all of that, bring it to our space, clean it for free, and give it back to you. So he could take more orders. We got nothing from it. But what did we get in terms monetarily? But we got connect. Right? So basically, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how it went. And it was very rewarding for Anand and I was we felt so rewarded by, seeing these young people blossom. Not just Kabir, but the other colleagues also.
Such an incredible journey, ma'am.
And
Very nice.
mind you, dictated by them. We just followed the lead. We didn't have any idea in our head. We just okay, next step, basically.
How did you instill confidence in him to do everything on his own?
Well, confidence is something I think, as we all know, those of us who are parents or even aunts or uncles with little kids, it comes from small things. No? It's the small things. So basically, firstly, it's okay to be wrong. It's all right. Correct? It's all right to fail. But you must try. Anything I'll just give you an example. He doesn't like to, because of the autism, he's a very picky eater. He doesn't like to eat, different textures, different tastes. So over the years, we have got this thing that try it. Just this much. Try it. And then if you don't want it, that's fine. So also respecting, his decisions, right? And also allowing him to make the mistakes and also acknowledging that you make mistakes. So sometimes if I make a mistake, meaning that's one thing we find very difficult as parents to say sorry. But I have learned that actually from Kabir, that if you're wrong, you have to, it's but right that you say sorry about it. So that he also realized that fine, Mama and Baba can also make mistakes, and so can I. And it's okay, I think it's really about that. It's okay to make mistakes. I think that's how confidence is built. Because if you're so scared to even try, how will your confidence get built and how will you learn? That's what I think. So I'll give you this, since I'm giving examples. I remember and I have one of my friends here and she might remember it too, Babita might remember it from a wedding of one of our family siblings, our core family siblings that we had. And Kabir wanted ice cream. Yeah, there was a buffet and he wanted ice cream. And so I said, go, take the plate. You can see the counter, go. Get yourself an ice cream. I don't know, Babita, do you remember that? Yeah. So, yeah. So he went to the counter and waited. And people were getting the ice creams and going away. But Kabir wasn't getting his ice cream. And the reason for that was you had to, there are different kinds of counters. Some counters, they'll give you the ice cream on a plate. Here, you were supposed to go get a plate and then you would get the ice cream. Now, he hadn't cracked that. Okay. And all the others, our group, was so nervous because they say, he's not getting it. And he said, that's fine. Let him not get it. Jada se jada kya hoga? He'll come back. Right? And complain to me and say, I didn't get the ice cream. So he waited after a long time. He pointed, literally maybe 5 minutes. He pointed to the ice cream and told the guy behind the counter, ice cream. And he speaks very little. And that guy pointed to the pile of plates and said, plate. And so then he got the plate, got the ice cream, and with a big grin, he came with it back. So basically, allow him that space and dignity to make the mistake, take his time, right? And again, I was not born with this knowledge, right? Kabir has knocked that knowledge into me through 30 years of parenting. Like, hey, I want it this way. So basically, it's that.
Yeah. Parul, when you mentioned that the infrastructure readiness also had to be there, the person who was at the ice cream counter he could understand and follow the way that Kabir was talking, and he could take the lead.
Yeah.
So when he said ice cream and he said plate,
Yeah.
coming to that and connecting with your profession, inclusive infrastructure, what you're providing, and there's a project that you're working with the Mumbai municipal community also, the corporation. So would you please tell us about that?
So yeah, so this is something, it's really the need of the hour. And now we also in India have the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, or the Access India campaign. And essentially my firm is, one of the important things is my firm is also empaneled with the government for that. But basically it's about making sure that all public spaces are accessible to maximum number of people, with dignity. So universal design is not, in generally when you think of it, we think ramps, correct? But it's not just about ramps. Since I think most of us here are women, we know how difficult it is for women to function when you don't have good toilets, right? In a job situation or in a public space. So just having toilets for women, it doesn't have to be about accessible toilets, but having toilets for women. Or we have so many signages, correct? But there are persons who have color blindness or persons who have low vision. I mean, now I have low vision without my specs. So size of font, background, foreground contrast, type of font selection. Because if you have dyslexia, read certain fonts. Right? So universal design is often about the choices made in design rather than building of additional infrastructure. Right? So it's basically that's what we're trying, and we also hold a lot of workshops and talks. In fact, just next week I'll be going for another talk to Andhra Pradesh, right, with some designers. So basically creating that awareness, because people always feel that's an extra cost added to the design. No, it's not. It's just choosing wisely.
How do you attend to your own needs or refuel yourself when you get exhausted?
Yeah. So basically, when you're a mom, it takes some energy from anybody to be a mom, to be a parent, whether you're a mom or a dad, right? If you have a person with special needs, it probably takes a little more energy and effort. Not probably, definitely does. But just as because you become a mother or a father, your life doesn't stop. So similarly, I think if there's one message we can share with persons who have special needs, children in their family, is just because you need to attend to special needs, your life shouldn't stop, right? So whatever your interests are, I mean, I have tried my best to continue with my interests and be in touch with my friends to the best of my abilities. Of course, it will be like love reading. Now I can read a little more because Kabir is older and he has things to do in his life. But when he was younger and I had to run with him from therapy to therapy, I had to read one paragraph a day, right? So I was reading books at the pace of one paragraph a day. But I did not stop reading books. So, you may have to change it a little bit. And yeah, was it frustrating? Yes, very frustrating because the story would unfold, over months. But basically, I'm glad I did stop reading, And today, actually, a lot of parents continue with their careers, continue with, their lifestyles, despite having special needs children, because a lot of support systems are in place as compared to in our time. And I think you should not be apologetic about it. Because if you can be happy, you can give back to and be connected, you can give back to your family better.
Thank you. And one more question. What do you wish to tell us as society, but you usually didn't get the chance to say? Is there anything that you'd like to say to us as a society?
Yeah, so I'm going to borrow actually the words of autism self-advocate, Mrs. Rakshita Shekhar. She is a parent and a special educator, and she has autism, and she got diagnosed as an adult, right, a few years back. And when I was attending one of her talks, she said this very interesting thing. She said, impairment is a personal thing, right? But the impairment becomes a disability because of the way society perceives it, you know? And I got thinking about it, like again, coming back to specs, correct? If I was a girl of marriageable age in a less urban setting, right, and was looking out for arranged marriages, if my family was looking out for arranged marriages, then having specs is a disability. It's a negative on my CV. But if I'm even the same younger girl, but in an urban setting and a double graduate, and looking for another double graduate in the arranged market, the marriage market, specs don't matter. It is assumed that you will have specs. Correct. So it is how society perceives the impairment. It's an impairment. It's the same impairment, right? But it's how society perceives it that makes it a disability. So I think we need to change the way we perceive any disability for it to become, for the world to become more inclusive.
Right. So, Parul, you've been a TEDx speaker, and the conversation, the talk that you made there is very interesting, celebrating diversity. So, tell us about that and the experience that you had there.
Yeah. So experience about TEDx was a little, I mean, I've spoken very often, but the thing about TEDx was they wanted it within that certain amount of minutes, and you had to say it exactly the same way, which I found very difficult and I struggled with. But anyway, that's their format, right? In fact, if you look at that, what I was trying to say in that too is that, see, nowadays we talk so much about biodiversity, right? You need to conserve biodiversity because of climate change and all. But nobody talks of human diversity. And actually, we really need to conserve human diversity also. Diversity of culture, diversity of languages, of races, of, all the many things. Also diversities of neurodiversities, right? Recently, a few months back, Elon Musk, I think you'll have heard of Elon Musk, right? So he came out, I mean, there's a program called Saturday Night Live in the US. And on the program, he declared that he has Asperger's syndrome, which is part of the autism spectrum. Now, if we did not have Elon Musk, we would not have Tesla, and we would not have dreams of going to Mars. Correct. So that is how important neurodiversity is. Or similarly, Alan Turing, who is a very, very big mathematician, and in fact credited with having cracked the German code during the World War, right? I think he's the father of the binary language based on which computers have been made. Now, he's also known to have been on the spectrum. Now, if Alan Turing wasn't what he was, we would not be sitting here and having an online discussion like this. We would not have had computers. We would not have had laptops. All of this would not happen. So actually, it's always been people who have thought differently, who have done things differently, that has taken human civilization ahead. So that's how. In fact, if you look at tribal societies, and this is something I read anthropologically, they always look after their old, their persons who have physical disabilities, etc. If they're going from one spot to another, they will carry them on their shoulders, but they will take them because they know that if they have hardships, these persons will tell them how to go through the hardships because they're facing hardships every day. So that's how important they are to the human race. And that's what I tried to convey through my TEDx talk. I don't know if it happened, but that was my attempt.
Ma'am, I just needed to ask, like, what has been your biggest challenge throughout? May it be the upbringing, or may it be the start of his career, of his business, and how did you overcome it?
Actually, yeah. My biggest challenge was, and this I have not shared before, when Kabir was 3.5 years old, he had a near fatal accident. He fell 40 feet. Okay, and in that accident, he fractured both his shoulders, his left knee, his eardrums burst, and there were, I mean, various complications. He also got a contusion on his left temporal lobe, which is the area of cognition and speech, and he was in coma for over 10 days. He was in hospital for over 2 months, and even when he came home, he was moving around on his bottoms, and he was being fed through his nose by a Lyle's tube. Yes, that has been, as a mother, that has been my biggest challenge, right? Because I remember at the time, and I have quite a few doctors in my family, but even if I asked anybody, nobody was ready to give me any assurance about what the future will look like, and they will survive it, right? So that has been my biggest challenge. And how did I overcome it? Because I just saw Kabir just do what he could. His whole thing was, and not just him, he was in the ICU, and there were these neonatals in the ICU that I used to see every day, right? While he was there. And one thing I really learned from them is, I can breathe now, I can move one step tomorrow, and that's what I should do, right? And it's just literally one step at a time that is. So for us, it was just basically supporting him. Yeah, if you're taking one step, we are there. In case you falter, we are there to hold you. Just that. So I mean, I have learned actually how to be brave from Kabir.
Yeah, last one question. Ma'am, what is your favorite part of being Kabir's mom?
Oh well, like any mom, especially a mom of a son. I think all moms are in love with their sons. So, I just love being Kabir's mom. That's it. And he's also very, his autism makes him quite quirky and funny sometimes, and that's quite amusing. Very recently, we lost a very dear friend of ours, and just on Wednesday was our friend's funeral. And then after the funeral, we were all gathered at their home, and some of us friends from a long time, right? And we were all sitting around, and they've seen Kabir grow up. In fact, he would call this young lady whose funeral it was, he used to call her Tai. Yeah, so it was very close relationship. And Kabir is quite fond of different smells, right? He likes smells, and right now he's into hair products. And there's this person who we call Mama. I mean, he's not related to us, but call him, and More calls him Azuba. And he was sitting next to this old gentleman, and that man must have used some hair oil. So while all of us are, thinking about the solemnness of the day and all of that, Kabir leans over and smells his hair, and then turns and looks at me and says, Kitty Chan. you know, and everybody knows Kabir and knows that he is typically able to do these things, and it kind of just lightened up the atmosphere in some ways because he did that. So yeah, that's also a very endearing thing, and persons with autism have this. I mean, all the autism moms who are here today will each have stories of their kids doing similar things. So that's very endearing about it.
Definitely, it must have been, as you said, it must have lightened the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So there is a question that somebody has sent in the group, and this is about how to handle emotional meltdown as a parent.
Well, the meltdown is not in anybody's hand, correct? It's something that cannot be, it's not a tantrum. A tantrum is different from a meltdown. A tantrum is when a person is deliberately doing something to call your attention and get their way. A meltdown is when the person cannot help it. There is something that is happening that is throwing them off balance, and that is what causes the meltdown. So I think what I've learned over time, also observing other mothers do it, and whatever I've learned from persons who taught through workshops about autism and all, just let the meltdown be. Make sure that the person doesn't harm themselves or doesn't harm anybody else, and maybe just let them know that I'm there. It's okay, I'm there. I'm there. Because what can you do? And it's only after the meltdown settles that maybe you can talk about it, maybe try to analyze what's happening. But certainly a meltdown cannot be stopped. Not through force and not through rectifying anything, because it's not a tantrum. Or somebody has said, I'm so well sorted. No, not at all. You should ask Kabir how sorted I am. Because really, and this is something Anand and I often say, that, he really tolerates us and all our parenting mistakes, and really forgives us all our mistakes. So, I mean, in a way, he's built our confidence as parents by saying, "Theek hai, galti karoge, seekhoge." I allow you that space.
So, Parul, just one more question, and because
Yeah.
Anand is here, I'd like to
Yeah.
understand from you. As mothers, we all feel that raising a child is our responsibility, and that is what somewhere we have been taught also, the way that society is. How do you see? Anand has been very actively participating with you. He's partnered with you like nobody else. So, how do you see a father's role in raising a parent, raising a child, with or without any diversity or anything?
Yeah. Yes, certainly. I mean, the father is a parent. In fact, I think the moms have to take a stand on this, because, like very often you hear this thing that if moms go out, for example, with their friends, and they'll often say, my husband's babysitting, right? You don't babysit your own child, you parent. Correct. It's not called babysitting. Babysitting is when you hire somebody who's not directly your family, or the parent. But if you're looking after your own child, it's just pure parenting. And I think, and today more fathers, I feel, are pretty hands-on, say, as compared to my parent generation. And yeah, it's just, you just have to be hands-on. That's it. There is no two ways. And you may be good at some things, and it's parenting is a partnership, right? So you give whatever you're best at to your child. Yeah.
I had a question. It was like, if you have to prioritize the activities that we choose for our children, say a co-curricular activity, or an activity which is academic, or an activity which is his behavioral therapy or a speech therapy. So suppose I have to give importance in order, so that he can achieve a holistic development. So what would I place at the beginning of the pyramid? So would it be the academic, or the behavioral therapy session, or the co-curricular, or the interactive play? So how much importance do I give to each activity in order, so that the best holistic development can happen for every child, actually?
Yeah. So this is, of course, very personalized to different families, because different families may look at it in different ways. Say for us, when Kabir was recovering from his accident, it was just important to make sure that he is healthy and alive, and to relearn all the things that how to hold up his head, how to eat, how to sit up, how to walk, how to toiletry. So were not interested in academics at the point. Now looking back, should we have done more in academics, and would we have picked up more? Maybe, I don't know. But every family prioritizes, right, based on their thing. But one thing I can say is, With autism, what can tend to happen is you look at academics because you're so much into getting the person into a mainstream schooling situation that you somehow do not look at the area that they struggle with, because they're struggling with socialization and communication. So it's like when we were in school, supposing you were weak at maths, your parents are not going to give you tuitions in English. They'll give you tuitions in maths. So if the autistic person is struggling with socialization, what you need to do is give more socialization. So look at what is the area your child wants the best support in and give that. I don't know if that answers your question, because
Completely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
yeah.
It was very insightful. Thank you.
Wonderful. So with this, we come to the end of this session with Parul. And on behalf of the Spectrum Autism team, I thank you, Parul, for this wonderful session. A lot of questions got answered. A lot of questions are now cropped up in our minds. We would like to go back and check. So these are parenting tips that you've given for parents of all kind of kids. So I think that really made a lot of impact. And I wish you and your team for Ask, like you said, everybody and all your endeavors, a lot of luck and success, and continue being the wonderful person that you are, Parul, and keep us inspired. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you from Kabir, Anand and me. Thank you for listening to our stories and our life journey.